Your own police captain orders your execution over the radio. You are bleeding out in a dark alley, betrayed by your own partner. But the man who steps out of the shadows to save you isn't a hero. He is Franco Ravellini, the most feared mafia boss in Chicago, and he tells you that to survive, you must become a ghost. Why would a ruthless crime lord save a detective who spent her life hunting him? The answer will change everything you know about corruption, loyalty, and the dark side of justice. Olivia Wells learned very early that corruption did not always look like evil. It did not always arrive with a gun in its hand, or a cruel smile on its face, or blood on its shoes. Sometimes corruption looked tired. Sometimes it wore a clean shirt, a wedding ring, and a badge polished bright enough to reflect the lights of the precinct. Sometimes it remembered how you took your coffee. Sometimes it asked about your sister. Sometimes it stood beside you after a hard shift and said, "Go home, Wells. You look like hell," in a voice that sounded almost kind. That was the part people never wanted to believe. Evil was easier when it looked like a monster. It was harder when it sat across from you in the break room and laughed at your jokes. Olivia had been a detective with the Chicago Police Department for 6 years, and in those 6 years, she had learned that the city had two faces. There was the Chicago the postcards sold, glass towers, lake wind, bridges lit gold at night, expensive restaurants with windows that reflected a skyline too beautiful to tell the truth. Then there was the Chicago that called her after midnight, the city of locked doors, the city of mothers waiting by phones, the city of witnesses who lowered their voices before saying a name, the city where people learned, through pain, that danger sometimes came with paperwork. Olivia had chosen that second city, not because she loved pain, not because she thought she was a hero. She chose it because, after her parents died in a car accident 8 years earlier, she could not stand the idea that life could break people so violently and then keep moving as if nothing had happened. Her younger sister, Rachel, had handled grief differently. Rachel became careful, practical, the kind of woman who labeled storage boxes, paid bills early, kept receipts in folders, and checked the stove twice before leaving the apartment. Olivia became motion, work, coffee, case files, rain-soaked alleys. She told herself it was service. Rachel called it self-destruction with a badge. You cannot save a city by forgetting you are human. Rachel told her more than once. Olivia always smiled. She never answered, because deep down, she was afraid Rachel was right. On the night everything ended, Olivia was parked in an unmarked car on the south side of Chicago at 2-3 in the morning. Watching an abandoned warehouse whirls through old panellers while rain tapped lightly against the windshield. Her phone buzzed against her ribs. "Rachel, you left the coffee maker on again. One day you were going to burn down the apartment, detective." Olivia almost replied. Almost. She could picture Rachel in their kitchen, one hand on her hip, trying to sound irritated because fear had become too familiar between them. Olivia's thumb hovered over the screen. Then a black sedan rolled up to the warehouse with its headlights off. Olivia lowered the phone. A man stepped out. Broad shoulders, dark coat, Sean Morrison. Her chest tightened. Sean had worked beside her for 3 years. He was friendly in the ordinary way that made suspicion feel shameful. He brought coffee to the precinct. He remembered birthdays. He had once sat with Rachel in a hospital waiting room after Olivia broke 2 ribs during an arrest. He had seemed safe, but safe was a word Olivia no longer trusted. For months, small things had bothered her, raids that failed minutes before impact, witnesses who disappeared after giving statements, evidence logs changed by someone with higher clearance than the case required, bank transfers that did not match salaries, overtime approvals used like cover stories, officers who suddenly paid off debts they never spoke about, a narcotics case that fell apart because the target changed location 5 minutes before the warrant team arrived, a dock inspection that got delayed by exactly 22 minutes, just long enough for 2 containers to vanish from the manifest, a frightened informant who told Olivia, "The problem is not the gang, the problem is who opens the door for them," and then disappeared before she could put him under protection. At first, the pattern looked like incompetence, then coincidence, then something worse. Every thread led to Sean. From Sean, it led to Lieutenant David Price. From Price, to Captain James Richardson. A man so respected in the department that accusing him felt like aiming a weapon at the walls themselves. Richardson knew how to speak in front of cameras. He knew how to shake hands with grieving families. He knew how to say accountability and service without blinking. Olivia had watched him do it for years. She had believed him for some of those years. That was the part that made her sick. She had not gone to internal affairs. She did not know who inside the house was already bought, That was how rot worked. By the time you smelled it, it was already behind the paint. She lifted the binoculars again. Sean was not alone. 3 more men emerged from the rain, moving with quiet coordination. Not one contact. Not a simple exchange. Too many bodies. Too much planning. One of them wore leather gloves, even though it was not cold enough. Another had the stillness of someone trained to wait. Olivia's hand moved toward her radio. Then her phone buzzed again. Unknown number. 6 words. You should have stayed curious quietly. Olivia stopped breathing. Across the street, Sean turned his head, slowly, directly toward her car. For 1 second, through rain and dirty glass, she saw his face. He did not look surprised. He looked sorry. That was what hurt. Then the first shot cracked through the night. The windshield exploded inward. Olivia threw herself sideways as glass sprayed across her cheek. Another bullet punched through the driver's seat where her chest had been half a second earlier. She hit the floorboard hard, grabbed the radio, and shouted, "Dispatch, this is Wells. Officer under fire. Southside Warehouse District. I need backup now." Static answered first. Then a voice came through. Calm, male, familiar. "Stand down. Detective Wells." Olivia froze. Captain Richardson, her own captain. Her throat went dry. Richardson. Gunfire tore through the car door. Olivia kicked it open and rolled into the wet alley, dragging herself behind a rusted dumpster as bullets sparked against brick. Her shoulder burned suddenly. She looked down and saw blood spreading across her jacket. Too much, too fast. She pressed a hand to it and tried to reach her backup weapon. Her fingers would not obey. Shock. She knew the signs. She had seen people bleed out on sidewalks. She knew the strange quiet that came when the body began choosing what to save. "Stay awake," she whispered. "Stay awake." A second bullet hit her ribs and stole the air from her lungs. She fell onto her side, cheek against cold pavement, rain mixing with blood beneath her. Footsteps moved closer, not rushed, not panicked. Whoever had shot her knew she was going down. They had time. Olivia thought of Rachel, not in a dramatic way, not with memories moving like a movie, just one clear image. Rachel standing in the apartment kitchen, in an old gray sweatshirt, holding the coffee maker plug in one hand, and looking annoyed enough to hide how scared she was. Olivia tried to move. Her body refused. Then another engine roared into the alley. Low, expensive, fast tires screamed against wet asphalt. Men shouted in Italian. 2 shots rang out from a different direction. Controlled, precise. The footsteps stopped. One of the shooters cursed. Another said a name Olivia did not recognize. But the fear inside it was unmistakable. The men who had come to kill her were suddenly afraid of someone else. Olivia could not lift her head. She saw polished black shoes step through the rain. Then a man crouched beside her. Dark eyes, sharp jaw. A thin white scar running from his temple toward his cheek like a line history had carved and refused to erase. He looked at her badge, then at the blood under her ribs, then at her face. He did not look afraid. That frightened her more than the bullets. "Do not scream," he said. His voice was low. Quiet, certain. Olivia tried to lift her gun. Her hand shook so badly, she almost laughed. "Call an ambulance." "No, I'm in police. That is why they tried to kill you." He pulled off his coat and pressed it hard against her shoulder. Pain flashed white behind her eyes. She choked on a cry. He leaned closer. "Listen to me, detective. If you want to live, from this moment on, the world must believe you died here." She tried to focus. "Who are you?" A faint smile touched his mouth. It did not reach his eyes. "Someone your department warned you about. Franco Ravellini." She knew it even before he said anything more. North Shore ghost. Mafia boss. The man prosecutors mentioned in private, but never managed to indict. A man rumored to control half the city's criminal undercurrent, without ever leaving fingerprints. Olivia had spent her career chasing men like him, and now he was lifting her, like she weighed nothing, carrying her toward his car, while the alley blurred around her. "No," she whispered. "You're a criminal." "Yes," he said. "And tonight. That may be the only reason you survive." She wanted to argue. She wanted to say that police did not murder their own, that Sean had been her friend, that Richardson had pinned a commendation on her 2 years ago, that the world had rules. But her lungs were filling with fire, and the streetlights were stretching into long, gold lines above her. Franco placed her in the back seat. His hands were covered in her blood. He gave rapid instructions to a man in the front seat, then looked down at Olivia again. His face was calm, but his jaw was tight. "Stay with me," he said. "Why?" she whispered. His answer followed her into darkness. "Because someone should." When Olivia opened her eyes again, the The ceiling above her was not hospital white. It was dark wood, carved in clean lines. Too expensive to belong anywhere public. The room smelled of antiseptic, fresh linen, and something floral. Her body felt heavy. Her mouth was dry. There was an IV in her arm. She tried to move, and pain tore through her ribs so sharply that she made a sound she did not recognize. Dawn T, a woman said. Olivia turned her head. An older woman stood by the window, silver-streaked, dark hair pinned back, hands folded in front of her. Her expression offered nothing. You will damage the sutures. Olivia swallowed. Where am I? Safe. That is not an answer. It is the only answer that matters until you can breathe properly. Olivia tried to sit up anyway. She failed. The door opened before she could try again. Franco Ravellini entered without hurry. In daylight, he looked worse than he had in shadow. Not because he was large, though he was. Not because of the scar, though that was hard to ignore. It was the stillness. The way the room seemed to adjust itself around him. He stopped beside the bed. You were unconscious for 4 weeks. Olivia stared at him. No, you coded twice. My doctor was not certain you would survive. Your doctor. Yes, I need a hospital. No, I need my sister. Franco's expression changed. Not softened. Shifted. Rachel believes you are missing. Olivia's heart slammed against her ribs. And pain answered. You know her name. Yes, I have to call her. If you contact her carelessly, she dies. The room went silent. Even the older woman looked down. Olivia felt a coldness enter her that had nothing to do with the IV. What did you say? Franco pulled a chair beside the bed and sat. The people who shot you failed. That makes them nervous. Nervous men search for leverage. Your sister is leverage. Olivia shook her head. The department will protect her. Franco's eyes held hers. Detective, the department sold you. The sentence landed harder than the bullets had. He placed a tablet on the blanket. Bank records filled the screen. Transfers. Names, dates. Amounts: A. Sean Morrison. David Price. James Richardson. $3,000 here. $7,000 there. Payments tied to failed raids. Delayed warrants. Witness addresses leaked before protection could arrive. Evidence logs changed and approved. It was not chaos. It was business. Clean, repeated, normalized. Olivia stared until the names blurred. No, the word had no place to stand. Franco watched her carefully. That is what betrayal looks like when it learns accounting. She hated him for saying it. She hated him because it sounded true. Why would I believe you? You do not have to. Facts do not require affection. He changed the screen. A photograph appeared. Olivia's car, riddled with bullets. Another. Her blood on wet pavement. Another. Rachel leaving the precinct, pale, one hand over her mouth. Surrounded by officers pretending not to watch her break. Olivia broke then. Not loudly. Something inside simply gave way. Please, she whispered. Let me call her. Franco was quiet for a long moment. Then he nodded to the older woman. Rosa, bring the phone. The phone was old. Disposable. Franco held it out, but did not let go immediately. One call, you tell her you are alive. You tell her you are safe. You do not tell her where. You do not mention me. If she tells the wrong person you called, she becomes a target. Olivia's hand shook as she took it. Rachel answered on the 4th ring. Hello, her voice was raw, like she had been crying for days. Olivia closed her eyes. Rach, silence. Then a sound like someone dropping glass. Olivia, Rachel breathed. Oh my God. Olivia, where are you? Where are you? The police said they didn't know. I thought I am alive. Olivia forced the words out. I'm safe. Tell me where you are. I am coming. You can Don to do this. Don it, you dare do this to me. Olivia pressed her fist against her mouth. Franco stood near the window, turned slightly away, but she knew he was listening. Rachel, listen to me. The people who hurt me can hurt you. You have to stop asking questions. You have to let the police believe I am gone. Rachel started crying. You are the police. Olivia looked at Sean S. name on the tablet. The price of her life. Not anymore. Liv, I love you. I am so sorry. Come home. Those 2 words almost destroyed her. Olivia wanted to say yes. She wanted to be younger. Before their parents died. Before badges and secrets and blood. Before men like Franco had become safer than men with titles. But home was not a place anymore. It was a memory with a target painted on the door. I can she whispered. Not yet, for Franco stepped closer. Time, Olivia. Understood without him saying it. I love you, she said again. Trust that I am trying to survive. Franco took the phone, ended the call, removed the SIM card, and burned it in a small metal dish. Olivia watched the plastic curl and blacken. It felt like watching her own name disappear. I hate you, she said. Franco looked at the smoke. Good. Hatred is useful. It keeps people awake. What happens now? Now you heal. And after that, he turned back to her. After that, Detective Wells, you decide what kind of ghost you want to become. Healing did not happen like people promised. It did not arrive as a clean upward line. It came in humiliating pieces. The first time Olivia stood, she vomited from pain. The first time she walked without holding the wall, she cried afterward. Not because it hurt, but because it had taken all her strength to cross a room in a house that was not hers. Rosa changed her bandages, brought food, and spoke only when necessary. She was not unkind. She was simply economical with emotion, as if softness had once cost her something. Franco appeared at irregular times, at dawn with reports, after midnight with questions. Pain level, mobility, sleep, appetite. He never asked how she felt. Olivia was grateful. She did not know the answer. The mansion sat on a private North Shore property surrounded by old trees, stone walls. Cameras and men who looked like gardeners until they turned their heads and revealed earpieces. It was beautiful in a way that made Olivia angry. A house like that should have belonged to someone clean. Someone who built hospitals or donated libraries. Not a mafia boss who knew how to erase phones, move bodies, and make dead women disappear. But beauty did not care who paid for it. That was one of many things she had to learn. During the day, light poured through tall windows and made the floors shine like water. At night, the house became quieter than any place in Chicago had a right to be. Olivia lay awake and listened to her own breathing. She thought about Rachel. She thought about Sean. Not mostly. She thought about the look on Shauna's face before the shooting. Sorry. Not angry. Not afraid. Sorry. That meant he had known. Maybe he had not wanted her dead. Maybe he had told himself it would only scare her. Maybe he had believed Richardson when Richardson said no one had to get hurt. Olivia hated that possibility most of all, because it made him human. Monsters were easier to hate. Weak people who chose evil in small steps were harder. 6 weeks after she woke, Franco came to her room with a folder instead of a tablet. He placed it on the table beside her chair. She was sitting by the window, arms still in a sling, ribs wrapped, wearing clothes Rosa had bought because her own had been cut off in the alley. I need information, Franco said. Olivia gave a dry laugh. Good morning to you too. It is afternoon. Then good afternoon. Still no. You have not heard what I need. You are a mafia boss. I can guess. He did not react. Police infrastructure. Access habits. Command culture. How officers think about procedure when procedure slows them down. Olivia stared at him. You want me to help you break into police systems? No, I have people who can break into systems. I need you to explain the human part. That is worse. It is more spoilful. I'm not helping you commit crimes. Franco opened the folder. Photographs slid across the table. Sean outside a bank. Price meeting a man near a courthouse. Richardson at a private club with someone, Olivia, recognized from an organized crime briefing. Then the bank records again. Shell companies. Dates linked to failed raids. Witnesses who vanished. Cases that collapsed. Olivia picked up a sheet with Shauna's name on it. Her fingers trembled. Franco noticed and said nothing. That was one thing about him. He knew when silence caused more damage than words. They used old habits, he said after a while. Shared passwords. Informal access. Supervisors approving exceptions without logging them. A system full of doors no one remembers leaving open. Olivia looked at him. Why do you care? Don't pretend this is justice. It is not. Then what? The Andrangheta has been using your department as a shield. That affects my interests. There it is. I said I would not lie to you. You saved me because I'm useful. At first, the answer was so direct it disarmed her. Olivia turned away. And now, Franco did not answer immediately. When he did, his voice was quieter. Now I know your sister's name. That is not an answer. No, he said. It is not. The agreement he offered was precise. 6 months. Olivia would not access any live system. She would not steal data. She would not write code. She would explain policies, routines, rank behavior, and the difference between what manuals said and what officers actually did at 3 a.m. when they were tired, understaffed, and convinced no one was watching. In exchange, Franco would keep Rachel protected, continue monitored contact when safe, and provide Olivia with 3 possible futures when the work was done: a life abroad, a federal witness route, or continued protection under his network. That is not freedom, Olivia said. No, at least you admit it. I find admitting reality saves time. If I refuse, Franco folded his hands. Then you remain here until I decide how dangerous refusal makes you. Olivia laughed once. It sounded ugly. You really know how to make a woman feel respected. Something changed in his expression. Not anger. I'm something sharper. Respect is not pretending power does not exist. Respect is telling you the truth, while you still have enough information to make a decision. Olivia wanted to throw the folder in his face. Criminals did not get to lecture her about respect, but the detective inside her, the part trained to separate comfort from fact, understood what he meant. The department had smiled while preparing her death. Franco threatened her openly, but kept her alive. The world had become obscene. 6 months, she said at last, and Rachel stays untouched. Rachel stays protected. No, untouched. Franco held her gaze. Untouched. That was how Olivia became an unwilling consultant inside a criminal mansion. The office Franco gave her had no external windows, no personal phone, and a laptop so locked down. It might as well have been a brick unless one of his analysts activated specific files. At first, she sat there with clenched teeth and answered only what she had to. Which roles required clearance, which databases were audited, which supervisors ignored procedure, which officers were known to share login credentials when cases moved too fast, which forms were mandatory in policy but skipped in practice, which old emergency override codes had never truly been replaced, which precincts had commanders who valued speed over accountability. She did not give passwords. She did not touch a live system. Still, every answer felt like a betrayal of the last clean pieces of her life. Franco's people were not what she expected. They were not thugs whispering over guns. They were analysts with advanced degrees, former forensic accountants, cybersecurity specialists, a retired prosecutor who had vanished from public life after a scandal no one could prove, a woman named Meena Patel, who had once worked in corporate risk management and could look at a spreadsheet for 15 minutes and tell which column hid a crime. They spoke softly. They worked in clean rooms. They traced money with the patience of surgeons. It scared Olivia more than violence would have. Violence was loud. This was intelligence turned sideways. One afternoon, she overheard a meeting through a half-open door. A man was proposing cooperation with a trafficking route in exchange for port access. Franco listened without expression. When the man finished, Franco said one word. No, the man tried again. He mentioned profit, leverage, control. Franco stood. The room went silent. There are businesses I do not touch, he said. There are people we do not sell. There are lines that, once crossed, make men impossible to manage. The man lowered his eyes. I understand. No, Franco said. You calculated. That is different. By evening, the man was gone from the property. Rosa later told Olivia he had been cut loose from every protection Franco's organization provided. Will he be killed? Olivia asked before she could stop herself. Rosa looked at her. Maybe, not by us. That answer stayed with Olivia. It did not make Franco good. She knew better than that. Good men did not operate empires in shadows, but it made him complicated, and complication was dangerous because it invited empathy. Olivia did not want empathy for Franco Ravellini. She wanted clean categories: criminal, victim, cop, betrayer. But every day inside that mansion ruined another simple word. She began to see how institutions trained people to confuse legality with morality. Sean S. Badge had been legal. His betrayal had not been moral. Franco's empire was illegal. But when he refused to profit from trafficking, what word belonged to that? Olivia did not know. On her first day inside the office, Meena Patel asked Olivia to explain why officers ignored mandatory audit prompts. Olivia answered like a detective. Because they busy. Meena waited. Because prompts happen too often. Olivia added. Because after a while, every alert feels like background noise. And when alerts feel like noise, Meena asked. Olivia looked down at the desk. People stop hearing warnings. Meena typed that in, not as a sentence, as a vulnerability. Olivia watched the words become part of a system map and felt sick. That was the moral danger of knowledge. Once you understood how people failed, you could help protect them, or exploit them. The same truth could become a shield or a knife, depending on who held it. That evening, Franco found her on the terrace, wrapped in a coat Rosa had insisted she wear. The grounds were quiet. A fountain moved in the dark. You look like you are deciding whether to jump the wall, he said. Olivia did not look at him. Would I get far? No, at least you were honest. You asked. She tightened the coat around herself. Do you ever get tired of being right? Often. Does it stop you? Rarely. He stood beside her but left space between them. He had started doing that more often, leaving space. Not enough to make her free. Enough to show he understood that closeness could be another kind of pressure. Meena asked me today how people learn to ignore warnings. Olivia said, and I told her the truth. That is what I asked for. The truth can hurt people. Lies already did. Olivia turned to him. Do not make this simple. Franco's face was unreadable. It is not simple. It is useful. That is exactly what scares me about you. Usefulness. No. The way you can remove grief from an equation. He looked toward the fountain. I do not remove it. I put it where it will not interfere with execution. That sounds like removing it. It is how I was raised. And that excuses it. No, his answer came fast. No defense. No decoration. Olivia had noticed that about him. When accused of something true, Franco rarely argued. He simply absorbed it, as if truth was another weapon he had trained himself not to flinch from. One evening in late spring, Franco brought her a letter from Rachel. Olivia knew it was from Rachel before she opened it, because the paper smelled faintly, like the lavender soap her sister used. She sat at the desk, hands frozen. Franco remained by the door. Do you want privacy? He asked. Olivia looked up. Is that a joke? No, you read it first. Yes. Then privacy is theater. He accepted that without defense and left anyway. That made it worse. Rachel's handwriting was messier than usual. I went to your memorial. I wore the black dress you hate. Sean was there. He hugged me. I wanted to scream because everyone spoke about you, in past tense, and I did not know whether to believe them. Then you called. Now I do not know what grief is supposed to do. When the dead person tells you she is alive, but still does not come home, I am angry. I am grateful. I am scared all the time. I love you. Please be careful. Olivia pressed the letter to her mouth and cried in a way she had not allowed herself to cry since waking up. Not neat tears. Not quiet movie tears. Real grief. Ugly. Breathless. Angry later, when Franco returned. She had folded the letter with careful hands. She went to my funeral, Olivia said. Yes, did you arrange that too? No, Richardson's department did. They needed closure for the narrative. Closure. The word tasted poisonous. Franco stepped closer. People in power often use closure to stop questions. Olivia looked at him. And what do you use? Fear, he said simply. Money, loyalty, debt, sometimes mercy. Mercy, when it is useful. Is that what I am? Useful mercy. Franco's face did not change. But something in the room did. You are alive, he said. Some days that is the only moral fact available. Olivia hated that sentence because it landed somewhere deep. She hated it more because it was not beautiful. It was not clean. It was simply true. In the weeks that followed, the work accelerated. Franco's analysts began mapping the corruption network with disturbing clarity. Sean Morrison had received regular payments routed through an account in his wife's name. David Price had blocked internal alerts before planned raids. Richardson had coordinated the larger structure, using department resources as a private security service for men who paid well enough. But the network was bigger than Olivia had guessed. There were clerks who altered timestamps, dispatch supervisors who delayed calls by 2 minutes when told to, a city contractor who installed cameras in the wrong places on purpose, a prosecutor's assistant who warned defense attorneys when sealed warrants were coming. Not everyone knew the whole machine. That was why it worked. Each person held one dirty screw and told themselves they had not built the weapon. The Andrangheta had not corrupted the department overnight. They had done it slowly, through favors, debts, compromising photos, cash in small amounts that grew over time. A dinner here, a loan there, a warning call that seemed harmless until someone died because of it. Olivia began to understand one of the story's cruelest lessons. People rarely sell their souls all at once. They rent them out in pieces, then act shocked when nothing is left. That realization changed how she viewed Sean. It did not forgive him. Nothing could. But it made the betrayal more realistic, and therefore more frightening. He had not woken up one day as a villain. He had made one excuse, then another, until killing Olivia became one more practical decision. That was a lesson worth telling. Not because it was dramatic, because it was true. Corruption grows in ordinary soil. It grows when people stop respecting the humanity of those affected by their choices. A witness becomes a problem. A victim becomes a file. A colleague becomes a risk. A sister becomes leverage. Olivia wrote that in her notebook one night, then stared at it for a long time. Franco found her still sitting there after midnight. You should sleep. You sound like Rachel. Your sister is often right. Do not talk about her, like you know her. I know she loves you. That does not mean you know her. No, he said. It means I understand why she is dangerous to them. Olivia looked up. Because she might keep asking questions. Because she reminds you that you are still a person. People who want to use you prefer you forget that. It was one of the few times Franco said something that felt less like strategy and more like confession. Olivia closed the notebook. Who made you forget? His eyes shifted toward the dark window. My father called it training. For a moment, the mansion seemed to breathe around them. Then Franco turned to leave. Olivia stopped him. What happened to your face? He stood still. A lesson. From your father. From someone who wanted my father's chair. Did you kill him? Franco looked back. Eventually, Olivia should have been horrified. Part of her was. Another part saw the boy hidden behind that answer. The boy raised in rooms where survival came with blood on the floor. It did not excuse the man, but it explained the prison he carried inside him. The next morning, Rosa found Olivia in the kitchen before sunrise, making coffee badly because the machine in Franco's mansion looked like it belonged in a laboratory. Rosa watched her struggle for almost a full minute before taking over. You will poison everyone, she said. Olivia almost smiled. I used to make coffee every morning. Not like this. Rosa moved with brisk precision. Olivia leaned against the counter, one hand braced near her ribs. How long have you worked for him? Rosa did not answer at first. Long enough. That is not an answer. In this house. It is. Olivia accepted the coffee Rosa handed her. Why do you stay? Rosa's expression did not change, but her eyes did, because once, when my son owed money to men who would have cut him apart and sent him home in bags, Franco paid the debt. Then he made my son work it off in a bakery, instead of in the streets. Olivia stared at her. A bakery, in Milwaukee. That sounds almost kind. No, kind would have been no debt. This was mercy with structure. Rosa wiped the counter. Do not confuse him for a good man, but do not be lazy and call him only bad. Lazy judgment is how people excuse not thinking. Olivia carried that with her all day. Lazy judgment. She had lived by categories because categories kept the world manageable. But the world had stopped being manageable. The night Sean looked sorry and pulled the trigger anyway. Later that week, Rachel wrote again. This time the letter was shorter. Sean stopped by. He said he was worried about me. He brought groceries. I don't know why that made me feel sick. Maybe because he was too kind. Maybe because grief makes everything suspicious. Olivia read the sentence 3 times. Sean had been inside Rachel's apartment, sitting at her table, looking at her face, pretending sympathy. Olivia carried the letter to Franco's study, without knocking. He was in a meeting with Mina and 2 men she did not know. She threw the paper on his desk. Why was Sean with Rachel? Franco read the line. His face closed. When this week? Rosa. Rosa appeared as if she had been waiting outside the door. Increase the distance watch around Rachel Wells. No contact unless necessary. Olivia's blood went cold. Distance watch. Franco looked at Rosa. Now Rosa left. Olivia stepped closer to the desk. You had people watching her. Yes. For how long? Since you woke. Olivia slapped him. Hard. The room went silent. One of the men shifted. Franco lifted one hand and the man stopped. Franco's face had turned slightly with the impact. When he looked back at Olivia, there was no anger in his eyes. That almost broke her more. You put surveillance on my sister, and did not tell me. Yes, you had no right. Correct. Then why? Because if I told you, you would try to contact her. If you contacted her, Richardson would use her. If Richardson used her, you would leave this house wounded and furious, and walk into a trap. You do not get to make every choice for me. No, Franco said. But I will make the ones that keep you alive when you are too angry to see the trap. Olivia stepped close enough to see the red mark forming on his cheek. That is not protection. That is control. Franco's voice lowered. Sometimes the difference is whether the person survives long enough to hate you for it. She wanted another answer. A softer one. A human one. But Franco had been built in a world where soft answers got buried. Olivia left before she cried in front of him. That night, Rachel's studio was approached by a gray SUV. 2 men sat outside for 20 minutes. Rachel was inside, restoring a 19th century portrait of a woman in a torn blue dress. She did not know she was being watched. She did not know that one of Franco's men sat in a parked delivery van half a block away, reading a newspaper with a gun under the seat. She did not know that a retired federal contact, still loyal to an old debt, had already called in a traffic stop on the SUV. The 2 men were arrested on outstanding warrants before they reached the studio door. No gunfight, no bodies, just a blocked street, flashing lights, and 2 men suddenly removed from the board. Franco told Olivia only after Rachel was safe. That caused their second fight. It was worse because Olivia had nowhere to put her anger. Franco had been right. Rachel had been in danger. Franco had protected her. And he had still violated the one part of Olivia's life she wanted kept beyond his reach. Do you understand what this does to me? Olivia asked him in the library after midnight. Her voice was tired now. Every time you save someone I love, it becomes harder to hate you. And I need to hate you, Franco. He stood across from her, firelight cutting shadows along his scar. Why? Because if I do not hate you, then I have to admit, the man keeping me prisoner may also be the man keeping me alive. Franco's face shifted. A small fracture in the mask. You are not my prisoner. Olivia laughed, but it came out broken. Can I leave? He said nothing. Then do not insult me with pretty language. He walked to the window. Outside, the grounds were dark except for security lights along the trees. When I was 16, he said, my father gave me a car, a passport, and $40,000 in cash. He told me to leave before the family made me into him. Olivia went still. Franco did not turn around. I stayed. I told myself it was duty, loyalty, blood. The truth was simpler. I was afraid to be nobody, afraid to be ordinary. Power is addictive to boys who have never felt safe. He paused. By the time I understood the cost, I had already become someone who could not walk into a police station and ask for help. Olivia's anger did not vanish, but it changed shape. Why are you telling me this? Because you still can leave. You just said I can tea. Not tonight. Not through the front gate, with Richardson watching, and the Andrangheta asking questions. But eventually, if you choose it, she studied him, and you would let me. Franco turned back. If I do not, then I am only another man who decided your life belonged to him. There it was. The thing that made him dangerous in a different way. Not his guns. Not his money. His awareness. Franco knew what he was. He knew how power corrupted touch, help, love, protection. He knew the line. Olivia did not yet know whether he would cross it, but he knew it existed. That mattered. The next escalation came through Sean. Franco's analysts intercepted a message from Sean to Richardson asking whether Olivia had really been confirmed dead. Sean was nervous. More than nervous. He had started drinking. He had visited Rachel under the pretense of offering support. Rachel had let him in because she had no reason. Yet to know he had helped murder her sister. When Olivia learned that, she nearly tore the stitches in her shoulder, reaching for the door. Franco caught her at the hallway entrance. Move, she said. No, he was in her apartment. And now there are two men outside her building. You should have told me. Yes. Why didn't you? Franco's grip tightened just enough to stop her without hurting her. Because I did not know how to tell you that a man you trust had sat at your sister's kitchen table while carrying guilt for your attempted murder. Olivia stopped fighting. That was the worst part of trauma. Sometimes the body surrendered before the heart did. She sagged against the wall. Franco released her immediately, but stayed close. I trusted him, she whispered. I know, he asked about Rachel. He knew she was all I had. Yes, and he still did it. Franco's voice was low. People can know exactly what they are destroying and still choose themselves. Olivia closed her eyes. That sentence became one of the moral anchors of the story. It was not just about crime. It was about every betrayal that begins when one person decides. Another person's pain matters less than their own comfort. Sean had chosen himself. Richardson had chosen himself. The department had chosen reputation over truth. Franco, strangely, was the first person in months who seemed to understand that Olivia's pain was not an inconvenience. One night, while a storm rolled over the lake, Franco found Olivia in the old chapel attached to the property. She had discovered it by accident. It had no active religious use now, only dust, old wood, and a stained glass window showing a woman holding a broken vessel. Olivia sat in the back pew, staring at the colored glass. Do you believe in forgiveness? She asked when Franco entered. For others, sometimes. For yourself. No, she looked at him. That was fast. Some answers do not improve with decoration. Olivia looked back at the window. Rachel will forgive me, eventually. That almost makes it worse. Why? Because I don't know if I deserve it. Franco sat 2 pews behind her. Forgiveness is not a salary, he said. It is not earned hour by hour. Sometimes it is a door someone opens because they refuse to live locked inside what happened. Olivia let the words settle. That sounds almost healthy. Rosa reads books. Olivia smiled despite herself. It faded quickly. What about respect? What about it? You live in a world built on fear. How do you respect anyone? Franco leaned forward, forearms resting on his knees. By remembering fear is a tool, not a truth. A person afraid of me is still a person. A debt owed to me does not make a life worthless. A mistake does not make a man disposable. And when you kill, the air changed. Franco did not flinch. Then I live with it. That is not enough. No, he said. It never is. That was why the story stayed realistic. Franco did not become innocent because he loved Olivia. Olivia did not become blind because he saved her. Love did not clean blood from anyone's hands. It only forced them to look at the stains. By late August, the Ndrangheta began moving aggressively. Their own surveillance detected disruptions around police contacts. Payments stalled. Safe routes shifted. Men who used to answer phones stopped answering. Franco's operations had exposed too much too quickly, and for the first time, the Ndrangheta sent a name into the open. Vittorio Serra. He was not a rumor. He was not a shadow with no face. He was the kind of man who allowed rumors, because they made his work easier. Born in Calabria, educated in London, dressed like a banker, patient like a disease, Vittorio did not shout. He did not threaten in public. He sent flowers to funerals he had caused, and invoices to men who thought fear should be free. Franco described him to Olivia in one sentence. He has no lines. That was enough. A week after Rachel's studio was watched, Rachel received a package. No return address. Inside was a photograph of Olivia from years earlier, taken outside the precinct, with a red line drawn across her eyes. Beneath it was a note. Stop grieving loudly. Olivia did not see the package first. Rachel called the contact number Franco had given through one of his intermediaries. She was shaking so badly she could barely speak. Franco let Olivia listen from across the room, on speaker, after making sure the line was clean. Liv, Rachel whispered. I know you said not to ask questions. I tried so hard. But someone sent me a photo of you. Someone knows. Olivia gripped the edge of the table. Are you hurt? No, are you alone? There is a man outside. The one who pretends to read newspapers. I think he has yours. Olivia looked at Franco. He said nothing. Rachel continued. I hated him at first, but he walked me to my car tonight. He said nothing, just stood there. I think he saved me from something I didn't see. Olivia's throat tightened. Rachel, listen to me. Pack a small bag. Do exactly what the man tells you. Are you coming? Are you coming? Olivia closed her eyes. I can tea. Rachel made a sound that was almost a laugh and almost a sob. You keep saying that. I know. I hate this. I know I hate that I am grateful to criminals, because police officers scared me more. Olivia looked at Franco again. He looked away first. So do I, Olivia whispered. That night, Franco moved Rachel to a safe apartment under a false lease, controlled by one of his lawyers. It was not luxury. It was clean, anonymous, and guarded. Rachel refused at first. She shouted at the man sent to move her. She called him a thug. She threw a mug at the wall. Then she saw Sean Morrison sitting in an unmarked car, half a block away from her old building. She packed in 7 minutes. When Olivia heard that, something inside her hardened, not against Rachel, against the last excuse she had been making for Sean. Maybe he was afraid. Maybe he was trapped. Maybe he was sorry. But sorry men still choose. Sean had chosen again. Richardson, desperate, tried to negotiate. He sent a message through Ricardo, offering information in exchange for protection. Franco played the recording for Olivia. Richardson's voice trembled beneath the coded language. He was not powerful anymore. He was cornered. He will flip, Franco said, or Vittorio will kill him. Can we get him to the FBI first? Olivia asked. Franco looked at her. She hated the warmth that rose in her face. Do not make that into something. I did not. But there was something in his eyes. Almost amusement. Almost sadness. The plan formed over 3 nights. They would use Richardson as fear to pull out evidence directly linking him to the order on Olivia's life. Olivia would help craft the pressure. Franco's people would handle the channels. No direct hacking by her. No direct threats. Just truth placed where fear could find it. It worked too well. Richardson contacted Sean. Sean broke. In an intercepted call, Sean admitted he had been told Olivia would only be scared off, not killed. Olivia listened without moving. Sean cried on the call. He said he never wanted her dead. He said things had gone too far. He said Richardson promised protection. Olivia took off the headphones halfway through. Franco reached to stop the audio, but she shook her head. Let it play. Sean's voice cracked. She trusted me, Richardson answered. Cold now then she should have trusted less. That line did what bullets had not. It killed the last version of Olivia, who still wanted an explanation that might hurt less. There was no hurt less. There was only truth. And truth, she was learning, did not heal the wound by itself. It only cleaned it enough for healing to begin. The attack on the mansion came 3 nights later. It was not loud at first. No dramatic explosion. No army at the gates. Just a power flicker. A camera feed glitch. One guard failing to check in on schedule. Franco noticed before anyone raised an alarm. Olivia was in the library reading a case file, when he entered and said, "Get up." The tone left no room for questions. What happened? Inside breach. Her blood went cold. Andrangheta, Vittorio, Rachel, safe. You reassure? Yes. He took her by the wrist and moved her through a side passage she had not known existed. The mansion changed around her. Doors locked automatically. Lights dimmed. Somewhere in the distance, a muted shot cracked through the walls. Olivia stopped. Franco pulled her forward. "Do not freeze now." "I'm not freezing." "Then move faster." They reached a reinforced room behind a false wine cellar wall. Franco pushed her inside, entered a code, and sealed the door. The room was small, concrete-lined, with monitors, medical supplies, locked weapons, and one narrow bench along the wall. Olivia turned on him. "Who is out there?" "My men. Your men are dying. They know their work." "That is not an answer." "It is the answer I can afford right now." Another sound trembled through the walls. Closer, Olivia's breath grew sharp. She hated small rooms. She had not known that until now. Maybe it was the memory of the car floor. Glass raining down, her blood, pooling where she could see it, but could not stop it. Franco saw the panic before she named it. His voice changed. "Look at me." Dawn to Olivia. "Dante, use that voice." "Breathe," I said Dante. She backed into the wall. Her hand went to her ribs, where the old wound seemed to burn again. Franco did not touch her. He lowered himself slowly to sit on the bench, making his body smaller, less threatening. "You are in a safe room. The door is steel. The air system is separate. There are 3 exits, 2 of which I have not told anyone about." Olivia laughed once, shaking. "That is supposed to comfort me." "No. It is supposed to give your mind facts until your body remembers the danger is not here." That helped. A little. She hated that too. They sat in silence as the monitors showed pieces of chaos. Men moving through hallways. A camera feed going black. Rosa in another protected room, calm as stone. Franco watched everything with terrifying focus. Olivia watched him. There was no panic in him, no visible fear, but his right hand, resting on his knee, was clenched so tightly the knuckles had gone pale. "You re-scared," she said. "Yes." He did not look at her. "For the house." "No." She understood before he said anything else. "Do not," Olivia whispered. "Do not make this about me." Franco finally turned. "It became about you the moment I carried you out of that alley. I never asked you to." "I know, then stop acting like I owe you my life." "You do not owe me your life." His voice sharpened. "That is the point. I saved it. I do not own it." The words hung there, heavy, human. Olivia's eyes burned. "Then, why does it feel like I can breathe unless you decide it's safe?" Franco looked down. When he spoke again, the control in his voice was thinner. "Because I do not know how to protect someone without building walls." That was the closest thing to a confession he had given her. Not love, not yet. Something sadder, something older. Olivia sat beside him, not close enough to touch. Walls can become cages. Yes, and cages can look beautiful from the inside if you re-scared enough. He closed his eyes briefly. Yes, the monitors flickered. One screen showed the east corridor. A man in dark tactical clothes moved through smoke, face covered. Then another camera caught Franco's guard Matteo falling against a wall, hand pressed to his side. Olivia inhaled sharply. He's hit. Franco's jaw tightened. Yes. "Can we help him?" "Not from here." "Franco, if I open this door, Vittorio gets what he came for." "Me, yes. And you just going to watch him bleed?" Franco closed his eyes for half a second. When he opened them, they were cold again. "If I sacrifice you to save one man, I lose both. If Matteo dies because this door stays closed, I will carry that. But I will not make his wound meaningless by giving Vittorio what he wants." Olivia looked at the screen. Matteo dragged himself behind a column. Another guard reached him, pulled him out of view. He was alive. For now. Olivia pressed her hands together to stop them from shaking. "This is your world." "Yes, I hate it." "So do I." That answer surprised her. Before she could respond, one of the monitors came alive with a different feed. A man sat in Franco's formal dining room. Silver hair, narrow face, beautiful suit, no mask. He looked directly at the camera as if he knew Franco was watching. Vittorio Serra smiled. He lifted one hand, holding a phone. Franco's phone rang on the secure console. He did not answer. Vittorio waited. The phone kept ringing. Olivia whispered, "Answer it." Franco looked at her. "He wants you to." "Then don't let him hear fear." Franco answered on speaker. "Vittorio Franco." Vittorio said, his voice warm and civilized. "Your house is tasteful. A little severe, perhaps, but tasteful. You entered without invitation. You entered my arrangements with the police. Let us not become sentimental about doors." Franco said nothing. Vittorio smiled wider. I know you are listening with the woman nearby. Detective Wells. Or do you call her something else now? Guest. Prisoner. Acid. Olivia felt her skin go cold. Franco's eyes moved to hers. Stay silent. Vittorio continued. You have always been unusual, Franco. Your father was brutal. Your uncle was greedy. You are worse. You are disciplined. Discipline makes men arrogant. You think rules make you better than those without them. Rules make men predictable, Franco said. Then predict this. Give me the detective and the files. I leave your house standing. Refuse, and I burn your operations piece by piece. Your ports, your lawyers, your safe accounts, your little old woman Rosa, your wounded men, the sister in the safe apartment. Olivia's breath stopped. Franco did not move. Rachel Wells is not in your reach. Everyone is in reach. The only question is cost. Franco leaned slightly toward the console. You cannot afford her. Vittorio laughed softly. There he is. The romantic criminal. Dangerous. Expensive. Weak. You mistake restraint for weakness. No, I recognize attachment. I have always found it useful in other men. Vittorio stood, straightened his cuffs, and looked into the camera again. 48 hours. Franco, the detective. Or the city learns how many people can die because you wanted to keep one woman breathing. The call ended. The room felt smaller after his voice disappeared. Olivia stared at the dead screen. He knows about Rachel. He knows her name, not her location. You reassure. For now is not enough. It is all we ever have. The act ended after 43 minutes. Franco's men captured one intruder alive. 2 others died. 1 guard was wounded badly but survived. Matteo lived because Rosa, calm as winter, stitched pressure bandages with the efficiency of someone who had done worse things in worse rooms. The captured intruder carried information that confirmed what Franco already suspected. Vittorio knew someone inside Franco's operation had been feeding evidence toward federal channels. He did not yet have the full story, but he knew enough. That changed the timeline. The next morning, Franco convened a meeting in his study. Olivia sat across from him. Rosa stood by the door. Meena Patel had a laptop open. 2 security men waited near the wall. Franco dismissed everyone except Olivia. You have 3 options, he said. Olivia's stomach tightened. That sounds like a speech you rehearsed. It is. Go on. First, I move you outside the country. New documents. New name, no contact with Rachel for a long time. You live quietly. You survive. That is exile. Yes. Second, federal protection. You testify. You give them what we have built. You enter witness protection. You may eventually have controlled contact with Rachel. And you, I remain unnamed where possible. Where possible. Yes, Olivia swallowed. Third, Franco stood and walked to the window. Morning light made the scar on his face look almost silver. You stay, we continue. I protect you. You help dismantle Richardson, Sean, Price, and Vittorio from here. And become what? He did not answer. He did not need to. She would become part of the machinery. Useful, protected, loved maybe, in a dark and airless way, but not free. How long do I have? 48 hours. That's Vittorio's deadline. Yes, and if I choose the FBI. I arrange the handoff. You would trust federal agents. I trust incentives. Agent Marisol Torres has spent 12 years trying to expose corruption without becoming part of it. She is tired. Tired people can be honest if given a reason. Olivia studied him. You already chose her. I prepared for your most likely decision, which is Franco turned. You were always going to choose testimony. The certainty made her angry, because it sounded like he knew her too well. Then why offer the other options? Because a choice is not real unless refusal is possible. She looked at him for a long time. And if I choose to stay? Something moved through his face. Pain, hidden quickly. Then I spend the rest of my life wondering whether I saved you or ruined you. Olivia left without answering. She spent the next night walking the balcony, unable to sleep. The grounds below looked unreal in moonlight. Perfect trees. Perfect stone paths. Perfect prison. Franco joined her near 3 in the morning. He did not ask if she had decided. He only stood beside her, close enough that she could feel his warmth against the cold. I found a file about you, she said. You have found several. About the woman before me. Franco went still. Elena, was she real? Yes. Did you love her? Yes. Olivia nodded. The answer hurt. She had no right to be hurt. That did not stop it. She died because you stayed. Franco's voice was very quiet. She died because my enemies wanted to teach me that attachment had a price. That is not the same thing. It felt the same when I buried her. Olivia gripped the balcony rail. Is that why you letting me go? Franco looked out at the dark lawn. I am letting you go because keeping you would repeat the lesson instead of learning from it. She turned toward him. And what if I do not want you to be noble? His eyes met hers. There it was. The thing both of them had avoided. Desire, grief, anger, love growing in soil where it had no right to survive. Then I would still have to be, he said. Because one of us should love you cleanly. Olivia's breath caught. There is nothing clean about this. No, he stepped closer. But there can be respect. Respect, yes. Not the kind written in speeches. The real kind. The kind that says your life belongs to you, even when losing you costs me. The first tear slipped before she could stop it. Franco lifted his hand, then stopped before touching her, asked without words. That almost undid her. She nodded. He wiped the tear with his thumb, as if handling something fragile and dangerous. I love you, he said. No music swelled. No easy promise followed. His voice stayed calm. That made it worse. Not in a way that asks you to stay. Not in a way that makes my loneliness your responsibility. I love you in the only way I still know how to do, honestly. I want you alive, free, even if that means far from me. Olivia covered his hand with hers. Come with me. He smiled faintly. Bella. Dawn. I cannot. You have evidence. You have leverage. You could make a deal. I could make a smaller cage. It's better than this. For you, maybe. Not for me. I have done things that cannot be translated into testimony and forgiven by paperwork. You could try. I am trying, he said. This is what trying looks like for a man like me. Then she kissed him. It was not soft at first. It was grief looking for somewhere to go. His hand moved to her waist, careful of her ribs even now. Even in a moment when restraint could have broken, that gentleness hurt more than hunger would have. For one breath, Olivia let herself imagine a different story. A story where he was not Franco Ravellini, where she was not a dead detective, where Rachel could visit for dinner, and the police were not corrupt, and love did not require exit strategies. Then Franco stepped back. His forehead rested against hers. You have to testify, he whispered. Olivia closed her eyes. I know. The handoff happened 2 days later. Franco moved with the efficiency of a man cutting out his own heart because the operation required it. He gathered documents, recordings, financial maps, chain of command analysis, evidence linking Richardson to the attempted murder, evidence implicating Sean and Price, evidence proving Betortio had used department access to protect Andrangheta routes. Not everything. Olivia knew that. Franco protected himself with layers, even in sacrifice. But he gave enough. More than enough. Agent Marisol Torres arrived in a black SUV with 2 other federal agents and a face that looked carved from exhaustion. She was in her 50s, sharp-eyed, controlled, and unimpressed by wealth. Franco greeted her in the entrance hall. Agent Torres. Mr. Ravellini, you understand the terms. I understand what you think the terms are. Franco almost smiled. Good, then we are both being honest. Olivia stood with a small bag at her feet. Clothes, a photograph of Rachel. One of Rachel's letters. A notebook. Rosa had packed food, though no one mentioned it. When Rosa hugged Olivia, it was brief and fierce. Live, the older woman said. Just that. Then Olivia faced Franco. For once he looked exactly as he was. Not untouchable. Not mythic. Just a man standing in the house he had built around himself. About to let the one person who had seen through it walk away. Goodbye, Olivia said. No, Franco replied softly. Never goodbye. Just not here. She wanted to touch him. She did not. Federal agents were watching. The future was watching. Her own self-respect was watching. Franco reached into his jacket and handed her the photograph of Rachel again. The one he had recovered from Olivia's apartment, without telling her. On the back, he had written one sentence. Do not live in the grave they made for you. Olivia looked up, but he had already stepped back. Agent Torres opened the SUV door. Olivia got in. As the car pulled away, she looked through the tinted window. Franco stood at the entrance until the house disappeared behind the trees. He did not wave. He did not chase. He loved her by staying still. The safe house was 6 hours away and looked like every safe house in every government story ever told. Beige walls, clean counters, cheap furniture, cameras where cameras should not be. Torres gave Olivia coffee that tasted burned and asked if she needed a moment. Olivia laughed. Do witnesses usually get moments? Rarely, Torres said. But I offer them so I can sleep at night. Olivia decided she liked her. The preparation lasted weeks. Assistant United States Attorney Elena Navarro led the legal side. She was precise, unsentimental, and careful with language. The truth matters, Navarro told Olivia during the first session. But truth that cannot survive cross-examination becomes a ghost. We need yours to stand up in daylight. So Olivia told the story again and again. The warehouse, Sean, the shots, Richardson's voice over the radio, Franco's arrival, the recovery, the documents, Vittorio S. threat, Rachel S. package, the safe apartment. She did not lie about Franco, but she did not give prosecutors the kind of testimony that would hand him over either. Torres noticed. Of course she did. You read protecting him, she said one evening. Olivia looked at the table. He protected me. That is not the same as innocence. I know, do you? Olivia lifted her eyes. Agent Torres. I know exactly what he is. I also know what my department was. If this process is about pretending the world is clean, I am the wrong witness. Torres held her gaze for a long time. Then she nodded. Fair enough. The grand jury hearing came in October. Olivia walked into the federal building under protection, wearing a dark suit that did not feel like hers. Sean Morrison was indicted first, then David Price, then Richardson. Each indictment felt like a stone dropped into deep water. The city reacted slowly at first, then all at once. News vans, press conferences, angry statements from police leadership, anonymous officers claiming betrayal, community leaders saying they had warned the city for years, and no one listened until a detective almost died. That part mattered. Olivia insisted it matter. When Navarro prepared her for public testimony, Olivia said, "Do not make this only about me." Navarro looked up. "You are the central witness. I am one person who survived. Other people did not. Witnesses disappeared. Families were threatened. Cases collapsed. Communities paid the price for corruption long before I bled in an alley." Navarro's expression softened by 1 degree. That is good testimony. It is not testimony. It is respect. And that became the human value at the center of Olivia's public voice. Corruption was not only illegal, it was dehumanizing. It turned citizens into obstacles, victims into paperwork, and trust into currency. A badge did not make a person honorable. A title did not make a person safe. Cyril's justice began with respecting the humanity of people who had less power than you. Olivia said that in court. Not dramatically, not like a hero, like a woman who had learned it through blood. The trial began in January, during a week of hard snow and gray skies. The courthouse steps were crowded every morning. Reporters shouted questions. Protesters carried signs. Some supported Olivia. Some accused her of betraying the department. Some simply wanted the truth, even if they no longer trusted anyone to tell it. Rachel came on the second day, escorted by federal marshals. Olivia saw her before taking the stand and nearly lost her balance. Rachel looked smaller than she remembered. Not weaker, just worn down by months of grief that had been denied a proper shape. They could not embrace in the hallway. Not yet. Too many cameras. Too many protocols. But Rachel touched 2 fingers to her heart. Olivia did the same. Sean saw her from the defense table. His face changed in a way no camera could fully capture. Shock first, then shame, then something like relief, as if a part of him had wanted the dead to return and accuse him. Richardson did not look at her at all. He stared straight ahead, jaw tight, hands folded. David Price looked angry enough to break his own teeth. The defense strategy was predictable. Olivia was unstable. Olivia had violated procedure. Olivia had been compromised by a criminal. Olivia's evidence had passed through channels that could not be trusted. Olivia had reason to hate the department. Olivia had disappeared for months and returned with a story, too cinematic to be real. Navarro let them build the shape of that attack. Then she stood and asked simple questions. "Detective Wells, when you began looking into Detective Morrison, did you intend to expose a criminal conspiracy? No, what did you think you were investigating? Possible leaks, failed operations, internal misconduct. When did you realize your life was in danger?" Olivia looked at Sean. He looked down. "When Detective Morrison looked directly at my car before the first shot." A murmur moved through the courtroom. Navarro continued. "Did you hear Captain Richardson's voice that night?" "Yes." "What did he say?" "Stand down." "Detective Wells." "And what happened after that?" "They kept shooting." The courtroom became very quiet. Later, the defense attorney stood. He was polished, silver-haired, and skilled in the way men became skilled when they were paid to make truth look uncertain. "Detective Wells, you expect this court to believe that a reputed Mafia figure saved your life out of moral concern." Olivia kept her hands folded. "No." The attorney blinked. He had expected defensiveness. "No. I believe Franco Ravellini saved me because I was useful at first." More murmurs. "And later the situation changed." "Changed how?" Olivia paused. He made choices that kept me and my sister alive, when members of my own department had chosen otherwise. The attorney smiled slightly. So you admit emotional attachment. I admit gratitude. I admit conflict. I admit the truth is complicated. Convenient. Olivia looked at him. No. Convenience is what Detective Morrison chose when he accepted money and looked away. Convenience is what Captain Richardson chose when he decided I was easier to kill than explain. Complexity is not convenience. It is what remains when simple lies stop working. The judge called for order. Rachel cried silently in the second row. Sean stared at the table. Richardson finally looked at Olivia then. For the first time since the trial began, his expression was not fear, not regret, anger. He still believed she had broken the rules. That was the most frightening thing about corrupt men in clean suits. They did not always know they had become villains. Sometimes they believed everyone else had betrayed the game by refusing to stay bought. On the fourth day, Navarro played the intercepted call between Sean and Richardson. Sean's voice filled the courtroom. She trusted me. Then Richardson's answer. Then she should have trusted less. A juror covered her mouth. Rachel stood up and had to leave the courtroom. Olivia did not move. She had heard it before, but hearing it in public changed something. Secrets, once dragged into daylight, lost part of their power. Not all, but enough. Shauna's wife cried behind him. Olivia saw that too. She saw the damage spreading through people who had not pulled a trigger, but would live with the echo. That was another truth worth telling. Corruption never stays with the corrupt. It poisons families, departments, neighborhoods, children who learn not to call for help because help may arrive wearing the same face as harm. On the seventh day, Vittorio Serra's name entered the record, carefully, strategically, not as a defendant yet, as a connected organized crime figure whose network had benefited from police corruption. His lawyers objected from a distance through motions and filings. He did not appear, but Olivia felt him in the room anyway, a colder threat, a patient one. That evening, in the safe house, Torres placed a file on the table. Vittorio knows the testimony is landing. Olivia sat across from her. What does that mean? It means he may try something before verdict. Rachel moved again. Olivia closed her eyes. Does she know? Enough. Enough is not a real answer. Torres sighed. No, it is not. I hate this. You should. Torres poured coffee into 2 paper cups. But hating the situation is not the same as blaming yourself for it. Olivia gave a tired laugh. Is that official FBI wisdom? No. That is therapy I should have gotten 10 years earlier. Olivia looked at her. Did you? Torres shook her head. Not then, and now. Now I am old enough to know being functional is not the same as being healed. That sentence stayed with Olivia too. The story had many teachers. Some wore badges. Some wore scars. Some carried guns. Some carried grief. The best lessons did not arrive cleanly. They arrived from people who had survived badly and were trying to survive better. 2 nights before verdict, Vittorio made his move. Not against Olivia, not against Rachel, against the evidence chain. A courthouse server flagged an unauthorized access attempt. Then a federal vehicle assigned to transport backup documents was struck by a stolen truck 3 blocks from the archive facility. No one died. That was not mercy. It was strategy. Dead agents created heat. Injured agents created delay. Torres came into the safe house at midnight, coat wet from snow, eyes hard. We have a problem. Olivia stood. What did he get? Not enough. But enough to challenge chain integrity if Navarro does not adapt. Can I help? Torres looked at her. You are a witness. I was also a detective, and currently a target. You said truth has to survive daylight. Let me help it survive paperwork. Torres stared at her for a long time. Then she opened a folder. They worked until dawn. Olivia knew police habits. Torres knew federal procedure. Navarro joined by secure call. Together they reconstructed timelines, backup logs, access stamps, and physical custody records. It was not glamorous. No guns, no dramatic speeches. Just tired women protecting truth from men who had always trusted exhaustion to make people careless. At 5:12 in the morning, Navarro said, "We have enough." Olivia leaned back and closed her eyes. Torres pushed a cup of coffee toward her. You still want to save the city? Olivia opened her eyes. No, Torres looked surprised. Olivia wrapped her hands around the cup. I want to stop people from being crushed by men who think cities belong to them. That is smaller, maybe more honest. Torres nodded. Smaller is usually where real work starts. The verdict came 3 days later. Guilty. Sean Morrison lowered his head. David Price cursed under his breath. Richardson sat perfectly still, as if stillness could make the room reconsider. Rachel reached for Olivia's hand and held it hard enough to hurt. Olivia let her. No sentence felt large enough. Sean received 8 years. Price received 10. Richardson received 12, with additional investigations pending. Later, Vittorio's network would be hit through separate federal operations, built partly on evidence Olivia had helped preserve, and partly on information. Franco fed through channels no report would ever name. But that day, in that courtroom, Olivia did not feel triumph. She felt empty. Justice, she learned, was not healing. Justice was a door. Healing was the long walk after it opened. Outside the courthouse, a reporter shouted, "Detective Wells, do you still believe in the police?" Olivia stopped despite Torres' warning hand. Cameras turned. Microphones lifted. Olivia looked at the crowd. Officers, activists, reporters, families. People who wanted a simple answer because simple answers were easier to broadcast. "I believe in people who choose accountability when silence would benefit them," she said. "I believe in systems. Only when they remember the people they are supposed to protect. A badge is not honor by itself. It is a responsibility. And when responsibility becomes power without respect, people get hurt." She did not say more. She got into the car. That clip played for days. Some people praised her. Some mocked her. Some said she had become political. Olivia ignored most of it. Rachel watched every segment and sent her one message. Mom would have said you looked too thin, but brave. Olivia cried over that for 10 minutes. Then she ate soup because Rachel would ask. Witness protection relocated Olivia to Colorado Springs under the name Sarah Mitchell. The first time she signed that name on a lease. She stared at it until the apartment manager asked if everything was okay. "Yes," Olivia said. Because Sarah Mitchell would have said yes. Sarah Mitchell worked in cybersecurity. Sarah Mitchell had moved from the Midwest for a quieter life. Sarah Mitchell had no parents worth discussing, no sister in Chicago, no scars under her shirt from bullets fired by men she knew. Sarah Mitchell was boring on purpose. That was the point. Her apartment faced the mountains. In the evening, the light hit the peaks and turned them gold, then purple, then blue. Olivia learned to stand at the window and breathe without checking every reflection. At first she failed. She checked exits in grocery stores. She woke at small sounds. She flinched when a man laughed behind her, because Sean had laughed like that once. She kept her back to walls in restaurants. She memorized license plates without meaning to. She avoided coffee shops with only one door. Healing, she discovered, was not becoming who you were before. That person was gone. Healing was building a life, where the wound no longer made every decision. Torres arranged monitored calls with Rachel. The first real conversation lasted 12 minutes and left both sisters crying. Rachel did not forgive her immediately. That was important. Easy forgiveness would have been dishonest. "I buried you," Rachel said. Her voice was flat with old pain. "I stood there while people talked about your courage. And I thought, courage did not bring her home." Olivia closed her eyes. "I know. No. You don't T. You were alive. You knew you were alive. I didn't T. You rewrite." Rachel was silent for a long time. "I'm glad you didn't defend yourself. I wanted to. I know." That was where healing began between them. Not with perfect words. With Olivia, choosing not to argue against Rachel's pain. Respect, again, not the polished kind, the hard kind, the kind that allows someone you love to be angry, without rushing them toward comfort. In July, Rachel visited Colorado Springs under federal supervision. They met in a small coffee shop chosen by Torres for its sightlines and lack of predictable traffic. Rachel looked older. Olivia probably did too, for a few seconds. They just stood there. Then Rachel crossed the distance and hugged her so tightly, Olivia's ribs ached. Even after all that time, neither of them let go quickly. When they sat, Rachel stirred her coffee and said, "He's a criminal." Olivia looked down. "Yes, Franco." Hearing his name in Rachel's voice hurt more than expected. "Yes, and he saved you." "Yes, and you love him." Olivia watched people move outside the window. A mother holding a child's hand. A man carrying flowers. Ordinary lives passing by. Unaware of what it costs some people to become ordinary. "I don't know what to call it," she said. "I know he saved my life. I know he used me. I know he protected you. I know he let me go. I know he has done terrible things. I know he may spend the rest of his life paying for them, in ways no court will ever see." Rachel reached across the table and took her hand. "That sounds like love and grief got tangled together." Olivia gave a small, broken smile. "You've been reading therapy books. Somebody in this family had to." They laughed then, not because anything was funny, because laughter was proof that the body could still make life after loss. Months passed. Olivia worked. At first, cybersecurity felt strange because the threats were quiet. No alleys, no sirens, no blood on pavement, just networks, access logs, phishing attempts, exposed credentials, lazy passwords, and executives who thought security was annoying until someone stole what they had failed to respect. But Olivia found purpose there. She could identify vulnerabilities before criminals exploited them. She could teach people that convenience had a cost. She could stop small failures before they became disasters. That mattered, not because it made headlines, because it kept ordinary people from being hurt by systems they did not understand. She joined a book club and said very little during the first meeting. She volunteered with a nonprofit that helped at-risk teenagers learn basic digital safety. That mattered even more. She taught kids how to protect themselves from scams, how to recognize manipulation, how to ask for help before shame trapped them. Sometimes she saw younger versions of Sean in them, boys desperate to look tough. Sometimes she saw younger versions of herself, girls who believed strength meant never admitting fear. She told them the truth in ways that fit their lives. The first person who teaches you to ignore your own discomfort is not making you brave. They may be training you to be controlled. Loyalty is not silence when someone is being harmed. Respect means people do not have to earn basic dignity. Those lessons became part of her healing. The story was never only about mafia, police, guns, or trials. It was about the moment a person decides another person's life still matters, even when systems say otherwise. Franco had made that decision in an alley. Rachel made it by staying angry but present. Olivia made it every time she chose not to become cruel, just because cruelty had touched her. The first message from Franco arrived 3 months into her new life. It appeared inside a secure work system, flagged as an anomaly. Olivia knew his encryption signature immediately. It's 2 words, still alive. No name, no demand, no request. She stared at it until the screen dimmed. She did not respond. She could not. But she saved the memory of it somewhere. No federal system could search. Later Torres visited and pretended not to know until Olivia said, "He contacted me." Torres sighed. "I assumed he would eventually. Are you going to arrest me for reading?" "Not today." Olivia looked at her. "You made a deal with him." Torres sat across from her. "We made an arrangement." "That sounds cleaner." "It isn't he." "What does he give you?" "Information. Roots, financial structures, names tied to organizations worse than his. And in exchange, we do not prosecute what we cannot prove with admissible evidence." Olivia leaned back. "Pragmatic. Ugly," Torres corrected, "but effective." She placed a folder on the table. Inside were reports showing Andrangheta arrests across Chicago, money laundering operations exposed, shipment routes shut down, several planned killings prevented. Vittorio's port network cracked open through a chain of shell companies that federal agents had been chasing for years. Franco's name appeared nowhere. Of course it did not. He existed in the spaces between official lines. "Does this make him good?" Olivia asked. Torres looked tired. "No. It means harm reduction is sometimes the best imperfect people can do." That phrase stayed with Olivia. Harm reduction, not redemption, not absolution, a realistic moral frame. Franco could not undo what he had been, but he could choose, again and again, to prevent something worse. Maybe that was the most some damaged people could offer. Not purity, direction. A year after the trial, Olivia received one monitored call from Franco. Torres allowed it for what she called psychological closure, though Olivia suspected Torres also wanted to hear what kind of man could make a dead detective choose life. The phone felt heavy in Olivia's hand. When Franco's voice came through, it was quieter than she remembered. "You re-safe," he said. "Not a question." "I am alive," Olivia answered. "That is not the same." No silence. Not empty, full. She could picture him wherever he was now. Not necessarily the mansion. Maybe another country. Another room with expensive silence. Still controlled. Still carrying consequences, like a second skeleton. "I cannot contact you again," he said. "You already said goodbye." "No," I said, "not here." Olivia's throat tightened. "Franco, the Andrangheta is weaker. Richardson will not touch your sister. Sean Morrison will not be near a badge again. The city is not clean, but it is less poisoned than it was. Because of you. Because of many people. You most of all." She closed her eyes. "Do not make me a hero. Then do not make me a savior." That almost made her smile. "Fair." His breath moved softly through the line. "Are you building something?" Olivia looked around her small apartment. The thrift store table. The mountain light. The book club novel she had not finished. The photo Rachel had sent of a restored 19th century portrait. A woman with damaged paint made whole again by patient hands. I am trying. That is enough. Torres shifted somewhere nearby. Time was ending. Olivia gripped the phone. I will never forget you. Franco's voice dropped. You are not meant to forget. You are meant to live, without needing the memory to feed you. Tears came then, quietly, and you. I will continue. That is not living. For me, it may be as close as possible. She wanted to tell him to run, to testify, to find a small apartment somewhere and learn how ordinary mornings worked. But that was a fantasy, and they had survived by refusing fantasy when truth was required. Thank you, she whispered, for letting me go. Franco was silent, long enough that she thought the line had cut. Then he said, thank you for making me want to. The call ended. Olivia sat very still. No dramatic collapse. No sobbing on the floor. Just silence. Then breath. Then the mountain light at the window. Rachel called later that night. Olivia answered. For once, she did not pretend to be fine. I miss him, she said. Rachel's voice softened. I know. I hate that. I know that too. Does it make me weak? No, Rachel said. It makes you honest. In the years that followed, Olivia learned honesty was less glamorous than courage but more useful. She built a life one ordinary act at a time, paid bills, made friends, cooked badly, went to therapy, let Rachel visit, let herself be touched without flinching. Not always, not perfectly, but more often, every month, at irregular times. A message appeared through channels she could never answer. Still alive. Sometimes months passed with nothing. Then it returned. Still alive. She never replied, but she lived. That became her response. She lived when she taught a teenager that asking for help was not weakness. She lived when she testified in a reform hearing under protected identity, and reminded officials that transparency was not an inconvenience but a duty. She lived when Rachel finished restoring the portrait and sent a note saying, I think she became stronger where the damage was. Olivia printed that sentence and taped it inside a kitchen cabinet where only she could see it. Then, one winter morning, 3 years after the alley, the news reported an explosion at a private property on the North Shore. The old Ravellini mansion burned before dawn. No confirmed deaths. No confirmed survivors. Federal agencies refused comment. Olivia watched the footage from her apartment in Colorado Springs, one hand over her mouth, while smoke climbed into the gray Chicago sky on the screen. For one full day. No message came. Then another. Then, a week. Rachel called and said nothing for almost a minute. Olivia understood the silence. Grief had a language all its own. On the 8th night, Olivia came home from work, locked the door, checked the window, and found a small envelope on her kitchen table. No stamp, no return address. Inside was the photograph of Rachel that Franco had once given her. The one he had taken from her old apartment and returned before the handoff. On the back, beneath his old sentence, another line had been added. Do not look back and unless you are strong enough to keep walking. Olivia sat down slowly. Her computer chimed once. A secure file opened on its own, then vanished after displaying 2 words. Still alive. She laughed and cried at the same time, quietly because no other sound fit. He was alive. Or he wanted her to live as if he were. Maybe there was no difference left that mattered. The world did not become clean. Chicago did not become perfect. No institution fixed itself overnight. Franco did not turn into a saint. Olivia did not turn into the woman she had been before the alley. That was the point. Real stories do not heal by erasing the wound. They heal by teaching people how to carry truth without letting it rot into bitterness. Olivia Wells, now Sarah Mitchell, understood that survival was not a single heroic moment. It was a daily discipline, a respect for the self that remained after violence, a refusal to let betrayal define the limits of love. Somewhere, in whatever shadowed room he occupied, Franco Ravellini would know she had survived. He would know she had built something. He would know the woman he carried from the alley had not stayed in the grave prepared for her. And Olivia would know something too. That love, at its most painful and human, was not always possession. Sometimes love was distance, silence, protection without applause. A door opened and not blocked. A life returned to its rightful owner. There were no wedding bells, no final kiss in the rain, no clean redemption for a mafia boss or perfect justice for a broken city. There was only this, a woman standing at her window in Colorado Springs, watching morning touch the mountains, breathing without fear for one full minute. Then another, and far away, a man who loved her enough to remain absent, made sure the darkness stayed behind her. That was their ending. Not happy, not tragic, human. And sometimes, after everything, Human is the most powerful ending a story can earn.